keep this simple. So I'm me and you are you, and we're going to talk about charity today. Let me start today off with a question. Would you pay $20 for something and then give it to someone if they could have bought it for $1 themselves? Of course not. That would be ridiculous, right? You'd give them the $1 or you'd give them the $20 and let them do whatever they wanted with the other 19. These types of things are happening in charities all over the world today. And while most acts of charity are incredibly well-intentioned, many of them are also incredibly misguided. Two examples I'll use to explain this to you today are food drives and Tom's shoes. Food drives are incredibly common over the holidays. I'm sure many of you saw them walking into the grocery store, at work, at your kids' schools. But the way that we address food drives is one of two ways. Either we use it as an opportunity to clean out our cabinets of all the food that we weren't going to eat anyway, or we go to the grocery store and we buy new cans of food to donate to these food drives. Now, if we're using it as an opportunity to clean out our cabinets, a lot of the food that we donate is either expired or doesn't meet basic nutritional needs. Katharina Rosketta, who's the executive director at the Center for High Impact Philanthropy at the University of Pennsylvania, estimates that 50% of the food that is donated in food drives is then thrown away by the food banks. And so you might think, well, I'll just give them everything I have because I wasn't going to eat it anyway. They can throw out whatever they can't use. But this ends up being an added cost on the food bank because they have to pay someone to haul the heavy canned food to their warehouse and then to sort through it and throw out everything they can't use. So what starts off as a work of charity ends up being an added cost on the food bank. Now, you might think, okay, well, now that I know that, I'll just go to the grocery store and I'll buy new canned food that I know isn't expired and that I know is going to meet nutritional standards. But when you do that, you're paying $2 for a can of food that the food bank could have bought for 10 cents. And I'm not exaggerating. Katharina Rosketta also estimates that a food bank can make your dollar go 20 times farther than you can. This is because of deals that they have with suppliers, with farmers, and with other charities, so that at most they're paying wholesale, but usually significantly below wholesale, while you would pay retail going into the grocery store. So if the things that you're used to donating to food banks are not helping them, what can you give? Money. Because they know how to make that dollar stretch as far as possible to get the food that they need. And they know what food to pick that's going to meet basic nutritional standards. Now, the other example I'll talk about today is Tom's shoes. And I know many of you have Tom's shoes, and when you bought them, you thought about this poor kid in Africa that you're giving a free pair of shoes to. But the image in your head of Africa was the poorest of the poor. It was the kid that's standing in the middle of a dirt village in a loincloth with a jug of water on his head. And unfortunately, this is not where a lot of Tom's donations end up. They get dumped in the middle of a village that is already well-sustained and maintained. And so when they dump a bunch of free shoes in the middle of a village, it puts the shoemakers in that village right out of business. A 2008 study done by Garth Fraser, who's an economics professor at the University of Toronto, states that used clothing donations are responsible for a 50% reduction in employment in the clothing industry in Africa. So again, what starts off as a well-intentioned act of charity ends up destroying their economy and increasing poverty. So what's the solution to all of this? Well, most of us can admit that at least some of the charity that we do is because it's fun for us. There's a term for this. It's charitainment. So the solution is to be aware of the impact of our works of charity and to be committed to making real works of charity. So instead of buying a pair of Tom's shoes because it's the social trend, donate that money to an organization that provides clean drinking water in Africa, something that they actually desperately need. And even though it's more fun to do a canned food drive, collect the money that food banks actually need to do their work. I encourage everyone in this room to make the Real Give pledge by going to www.realgive.org. When you make this pledge, you can access our list of hundreds of approved charities. We've done all the research for you. Every charity on this list has been fully vetted by our team so that we know and approve of where the donations are going, how they're being used, and their impact on the receiver. On our website, when you click on the charity, you can find a list of their most needed donations, which we've put together after personally interviewing each charity to see how they can most effectively and efficiently complete their work. Now, make a promise to do this research and to be well informed. Make a promise to think more about the person who's receiving your gift than on how fun it is for you to give. Make a promise to give charities what they actually need to help people. If we can all concentrate on this, and if everyone in this room makes the real Give pledge right now, we can make a real difference in our communities and in our world.